Hey, Ishan. Thanks for jumping on the startup show. Would love for us to get started with you introducing yourself and what business you're working on.
Sure. I'm Ishan. I am the founder of Bloort AI. Earlier it was called Bloort Tech, so Bloort is just a short of that. What we primarily do is help website agencies and designers get AI chatbots on client websites as fast as possible, and that in end saves the customers time on lead qualifications, customer queries, repetitive questions, etc. So yeah, that's our ICP. Our product is primarily chatbots, and we provide customized automations upon that, like voice calling and like hot alerts on WhatsApp for high intent leads. So that's how our product is tied to our market fit right now.
Great. Cool. And just to introduce myself quickly, my name's Justin Ford. I'm one of the founders of Javelin Sports and Decimate.world. I've scaled multiple different products, both in the consumer and B2B space, to seven figures in revenue. And this show is just a great way to sit down with startup founders, talk to them about what problems they're going through, and then get some information out to, I guess, would-be founders on how to build. Um,
Sure. Yeah.
so getting back onto what you're building. So you said something that interested me. It sounds like you're targeting agencies as your main customers. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Like agencies is like our primarily, like our prime channel on which we think is like the highest monetization chances. But then it does include like a slightly bigger umbrella of like freelancers and web designers also, like no code users, students who are good with tech, because the product is designed around simplicity. So like it acts as a support tool for agencies, but then is easy enough for students or freelancers to get in on it. Yeah.
Okay. Was that always the plan?
Um, it was no, actually, like if I go back on the timeline, how our product and service evolved was we came into the picture trying to be AI sort of like chatbots for dental clinic websites. And that was the primary case. But then over 2, 3 months of like cold outreach and customer talking, we realized that A, dentists don't even handle their own websites. And then B, any service based business basically usually talks to a website agency for making their chatbots, right? Or they hire someone off of Fiverr or on Freelancer. So it made like natural, like sort of sense to target those people as distribution channels because they already have like 15 clients coming into them. So that's how like it solidified into that particular ICP. But yeah, it didn't always start like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's actually really common story for startup founders. I know so many who started off trying to go to businesses directly, and then they realize, hey, my tool is actually better for agencies who already have the clients,
Yeah.
um, and already have the flow. So I'm just integrating with their workflow. Are you still targeting dental offices, or is it more broad now?
It's actually more broad now. Dental clinics, like we sort of just jumped in as a niche in the sense we were going for something that I had heard of called like an arrowhead strategy. We were like, okay, if we can target dental clinics, then maybe we can then expand into general like skin clinics and like the adjacent areas in which the similar service applies. But then the end idea was always, like get chatbots on websites, especially to businesses who can actually like benefit from the said chatbots, right? Like so for dentists, our reasoning was post 5 p.m. nobody's picking like calls on receptions. If somebody needs like an answer quick about like their insurance, about anything, then like that makes people naturally go to their website and like search for information. So that's the kind of like pain we were trying to solve at that time. But then this like again like this was not sort of like a super urgent pain for dental clinics is what we found out through like talking to them. And that's how like we sort of started exploring more towards like, okay, who feels that pain more of like missed leads, etc. And so that's where like e-commerce stores and like service-based businesses with more income calls came into like the picture, and that's how we started targeting agencies.
Interesting. And how long have you been working on this for, and how big is your team?
Um, Honestly, like not super long because as I said, like first we were like sort of an agency angle, right? Like we're targeting the end business and trying to convince them to get to chatbot. So that wasted like not wasted, but like, yeah, that was like 6 months of absolutely nothing, just like, talking to people. And then when we sort of like pivoted, so that, to like, like a chatbot SaaS builder tool, that was around January, December. So it's like been around 4 months since we've actually been solidly like presenting as a product. That's when also like actually like registered the company and all. So, like before that, you can count it as like sort of like a rough blob. Um, but yeah, I think that it
Okay.
was, well, that was your question, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So four
So
months,
you've been working on this for 10 months then in total.
10 months. Yeah, 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 including
So,
research. Mhm.
just yourself? Do you have a co-founder?
Oh, right. So, no, I don't have a co-founder. I've been working myself. I do have a small team of part-time engineers and a small team of part-time marketers. But it's like sort of like on and off. I bring them on as like a need-based thing. Co-founders are something that I've been like not super against, but at the time, just like I needed like speed to ship, and so solo founding was like the natural path I took. Yeah. So
Okay.
I don't have a co-founder.
Um, is this your first startup, or do you want to tell us more about any previous things you worked on?
Oh no, this is completely my first startup. This is I graduated like 3-4 years ago. And then I've worked at Amazon for a year in Kindle, like which is the e-reader. And then after that, I worked at a startup which was in the AI space. So it was doing AI images, but for like Shopify stores, right? Like so for like if they want to fill in their catalog with AI images, etc.
Okay.
So that's how like I got into the AI space and kept like the tech paths running. Uh, but yeah, like this was more of like, okay, I need to start like, doing something for like, I just wanted to do something for myself as a business. So it didn't like start off like some magical like idea that I had in a dream or something. And, I decided to build. So it was like more of like strategic.
Okay. Um, and again, just a reminder, I will be posting this after, so if I ask any questions and you don't want them to be public, feel free to just say that, and you don't have to
Sure.
answer. Uh,
Yeah.
with that being said, are you making revenue right now?
Hmm. We're not
No.
making revenue right now. It's been like 4 months. Earlier, first 2 months, we were just trying to see if people even use our product, to be honest, like if
Yeah.
people actually install chatbots. That was actually went well, because like we let's say we launched and then we immediately got like 50 signups within like the first 2-3 weeks. We over the first 2 months we noticed that we're getting customers from all around the world. So that was like a really nice like an exciting moment to like sort of like start launching everywhere. And then we started getting real installs. But that was like all on our free trial. And then like 2 months ago, we actually launched pricing. And that's when we started noticing that like people aren't really like paying for chatbots. And then we got into this, like basically like the past 2 months have been this cycle of like this iterative cycle of like, okay, is there something wrong with our conversion of our product? Or if is the chatbot pain itself not that urgent enough to pay? So, like we're trying to like map like what actually pays to the pain points. And then just like sort of this week around, we've come to the conclusion it's like more the urgency thing. So people like the chatbots as long as they're free, especially if they're just like FAQ based chatbots. But then they will pay if there's direct customizations or automations associated with those chatbots, because there's so many chatbot tools inside this like DIY, like make your own kind of space. Like there's Talk.to, there's Widgetcraft, there's infinitely many, and there's like 5 more coming today, I'm sure. But most of them try to be like SaaS products, and that's what the mistake we sort of were making, right? Because it's really hard. You can make a product perfect, but then it's really hard to distinguish. After all, at the end, it's a chatbot for your website. So that's how we sort of like over this week and last week uh, have sort of like pivoted into this hybrid model where we're still a SaaS, but then we're providing custom automations as like our primary source of money. And that finally has led us to revenue-based customers because we finally are close to closing our first two paid clients for
Okay,
that.
got it. And those first two are agencies, correct? Or
Um,
freelancers or
One is an agency, one is like a business owner themselves, like that they want, yeah, like so they want us to sort of like work with their ID team or something.
okay. Um, well, and what's your long-term vision here? Like, how big do you want this to get? Would you be happy with a $10 million ARR business? Like, do you want it to be 100 million? Like, do you want it to get $1 billion venture exit? What are you looking for?
Honestly, man, like for me, no, I don't want it to be like a super big like unicorn or something. And that doesn't like it's strategically I don't want like that, like or at least I'm not aiming for that. Of course, like everybody wants their startup to do big, to do well, etc. Right? But for me, Blort was mainly like a way to like start even understanding like the startup space, how to get like the skills around it. I just wanted to launch something of my own and then like see how it leads to like revenue. Like I wanted to go bottom up rather than aim for like a $10 billion valuation or whatever, and then like, like make the entire picture or the process around that valuation, etc. Right?
Yep.
Uh, that being said, I do have like a big vision for it. The market for websites themselves is like super big, right? Like there's millions and millions of websites, and there's uh like at least 1 million website agencies all over the world. So that is to say, like bottom up building, and this process has led me to the belief that that in the end that I can like actually like target those high like ARR values. But if there's like a set number, that I don't have an answer to that. But yeah, I feel like there's something there.
So the way I kind of think about it is it's generally extraordinarily difficult and arguably like potentially even unheard of for a service-based company to get to the kind of venture scale.
Yeah.
And I think investors know this too. So if you pitch them a service-based business, which it sounds like you're pivoting into to get
Mhm.
your initial customers, they just won't touch that.
Yeah, I know
With
that.
that being said, I don't think founders that are starting service-based businesses necessarily can't make it to that massive venture scale.
Mhm.
Realistically, there's kind of two categories of founders that make, I guess, massive companies. The first is ones who just happen to build something, usually with a good timing piece, and then it blows up and everyone starts using it. And then the second is just this founder who's never satisfied with what they have and they keep going, okay, I need to add more, I need to add more, I need to add more. And they build this kind of just big conglomerate, I guess, by the end of it, of all these different types of businesses that connect together through some ecosystem and it becomes a massive company. Um, so yeah, generally, you do see, I think, a lot of zombies in the startup space where
Mhm.
founders will initially start with something that doesn't necessarily have the potential to scale. They'll get it to a point where it's a big company, to the point where it's paying them a decent salary and they're happy with their quality of life, and then that's where the company kind of stagnates. So
I
the
would
the
like,
point,
sorry, I would like to actually agree with that, but then like
yeah,
also add on to that a little bit.
go ahead.
Like so, I do agree that service-based agencies as like the final model definitely don't reach venture scales because people as a bottleneck don't allow you to like that's what the leverage is like more agency model requires more people, and that's why like SaaS models were traditionally more likely to be venture backed, right? Because like they have this thing called MRR, and then like you can actually like map that to like projected earnings, blah 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 blah. And then for me, what I've realized is that like my probable final destination is going to be product based SaaS, right? But
Right.
then like uh this sort of like a pivot of like hybrid service plus like product was in the motivation that we kind of need to actually like start thinking about the fact like who actually pays, right? And that actually kind of like comes more from like agency model, like just to answer that particular question for us and then like have that in initial like sort of like income or revenue like generation going on. But then like I feel like the end destination is to like carry on the product that we've built so far and then like compete with for venture scale.
Yeah. And again, I'm not trying to sit here and say like, oh, you're never going to build a billion
Mhm.
dollar venture scale company because you're starting a service company. Um, I do just want to caution you. That's how investors think, right?
Oh, yeah, for
Um,
sure. Yeah.
so if you do want to raise investor funding by going the service route, you do make it difficult on yourself, and that's just something that I think it's important for founders to know. Maybe you already know this. Regardless, I just want to
Yeah.
put it out there for someone watching this. Maybe um, is it's this weird kind of thing that happens in the startup space where like once you launch a product, once you get it live, a lot of the times like the amount of money you can raise and the value of your company goes down significantly, right? It's
Hmm.
very rare post launch for a product to actually or a company to actually appreciate in value in the startup space. Um, you're not seeing many people invest on ideas these days,
Yeah.
but historically, when they did, essentially they'd be willing to throw again investors would be willing to throw millions of dollars assuming the founder was really high quality at an idea with the
Hmm.
assumption that the founder is going to build from day zero with that venture scale in mind. If you can't
Yeah.
raise pre-product, which pretty much no founder can these days, then
Yeah.
I think it makes a lot of sense to build some initial early business that can actually be the funding mechanism for your startup.
That's like the honestly like I'll add more even like more to that is um what you're saying about like the pre-product and like having not even pre-product, like you can earlier people used to get by just like talking about their idea. Then there was the era of like, okay, you need to have a pitch deck, blah blah blah. Then came MVPs, and now you actually need to show retention. You need to show like a little bit of revenue. Even like early stage investors will need to like see proof that someone's paying for it, right? And that's exactly like the problem we ran into the past few months, right? Like we were like so I attended Techstars office hours, and then they were talking about like this a lot, right? Like especially in the AI space, anything you add like dot AI to it right now is like almost adjacent to talking to electricity, right? Like everything runs on electricity, everything runs on AI. So it's like really hard to differentiate in terms of that angle. And then the one thing that does help you differentiate is like to show like paying customers. So yeah, like again, like we fall into the, this like more of a loop of like where do the agency model and the product model sort of like collide in the future, because like one builds personal relationships and actually like gets you talking to users faster who will pay for it, and then the other sort of like stabilizes those pain points into a reusable product to like keep attracting more future buyers. And that's how like I feel I'm envisioning like the next year to go. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I completely agree with you about the fact that getting to investors without, like with just a pitch deck, or like even like an MVP nowadays is like really hard. Really like you need to show like buying customers, especially if you're a tech product or a dev tool.
Yeah. Um, I guess to go a bit more into this, and I know you mentioned retention, and that's something I do want to dive into. So maybe we'll put a pin in that.
Sure.
But one quick final thought on this, and just to share maybe my own experience is, I think a lot of founders underestimate how hard it is to blow up something that's working. Um,
Yeah. Sorry.
so during the pandemic, my co-founder and I, we were building Javelin before the pandemic. When the pandemic hit, we put it on pause and built a health screening app for sports organizations because they were all worried about getting sued if people caught COVID at their games. So we built
Hmm.
an app to do waiver signing, contact tracing, like pre-screening, all that stuff. Yeah, that blew up overnight, right? That we had instant product market fit for that, and we could build a successful business pretty quickly on that.
Hmm.
Of course, it would only ever be a temporary business, right? And I knew that. I mean, I knew COVID would just be a temporary thing.
Yeah.
But I found this weird thing happening where it worked off so well initially, but it very quickly that started to die down. And my
Hmm.
whole team, everyone internally was like, oh no, we need to lean more into this, right? We need to like start selling harder. We need to push harder. Like we need to like keep doing this, right? We can't lose this cash flow. And I was the only one kind of saying like, no, we need to get out of this, right? We need to go somewhere else. We need to do something else. Like this is just a temporary business. Let's get back into getting people playing sports.
Right.
Um, and it was excruciatingly difficult to change my organization away from one that was doing like health screenings as a B2B organization into one that is now doing drop-in volleyball games at the B2C level, right? Um, it was so difficult, right? Every step of the way, like I had engineers, salespeople quitting. I had like my co-founder and I had huge amounts of friction between us. Like it was so difficult. So once you set like initial path for your startup, I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just as a warning, going that path, it's extremely difficult in the future to say like, okay, we're going to, maybe like start rolling up the service component of the business and start focusing more on the product and software component. It's
Hmm.
doable, right? I've done it, but
Hmm.
it's harder than most founders think, and that's why again most investors won't touch businesses that do that. Um,
Yeah,
just food for thought. But
yeah, yeah. No,
sorry.
I think like that makes sense. Yeah, like I guess like for sure in your case, it was more of like an opportunistic sort of like an ecosystem where like COVID really like influenced your product directly. And for me also, it's more of like a request based thing, like, how many like people really like install chatbots, how many people like feel the pain around it, blah, blah, blah. And then, yeah, of course, like converging agency and product SaaS is like what everybody thinks. And, it kind of is easier said than done. But yeah, like, I mean, the one thing that like I'll take away from that is having like a clear benchmark or like a clear exit plan in terms of like, where it's just not like blank page or just like every step of the way you're like, okay, do we still keep going? Do we still, like, or do we start like pivoting now, etc. So yeah, I think like what I took away from that particular analysis that like, maybe I should like have contingencies or exit plans in mind. But yeah, like even with the difficulty of like converging the agency and productized SaaS in mind, I think like I'll still keep charging that path because I feel like this is still the most evidential path. Like, like this is still like the way I'll get the most feedback about my iterative cycles in terms of like building and revenue. Yeah.
No,
Um,
and sorry, to be
sure.
clear, I think you should. I think you're
Hmm.
taking the right path.
Hmm.
Um, I just wanted to give you, I guess, a bit of a heads up of one of the problems with this path.
Yeah. No,
Um,
that's like really, yeah. Thanks for that.
no worries. Let's okay. With that being said, let's maybe start jumping in a bit more into product metrics if we have them. I think they're really useful to look at. I know a lot of people in the startup space like to say that, sales and marketing is everything. I think sales and marketing is very important in the B2B space, especially like enterprise. I guess the larger the contracts get, the more sales and marketing matter. But I think the smaller and the more kind of product led growth um, things get, like with SMBs and especially consumer, I think actually product starts to become more important. So let's talk product. You said you initially were running a free system and you got
Mhm.
some people using it from that.
Yeah.
Um, do you, how many was some? Do you have numbers for that?
I had 10 installs in the past, yeah, like since I
Okay.
launched. Hmm.
Um, what month was your earliest install? Do you remember?
10 installs means like 10 people publicly using my chatbot on their business. And then there were like 70 to 80 people who have signed up and like actually made like the chatbot till the end. There was like an initial bottleneck of like where we were trying to solve like if they just couldn't figure out how to like install it on their website. So there's that. And then I'm sorry, what was your last question again?
Sorry, do you remember the first month that you started getting installs? Just so I have kind of an idea
Yeah.
of timeline.
It was like December. I think exact date was December 7th or December 9th.
Okay. Um, so you had 10 people set it up
Hmm.
and they're live right now.
Hmm.
Have any people who set it up like canceled? Do you know?
No, we've had 100% retention rate in that sense.
Hmm. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. So you said you had about 70 to 80 actual signups and then
Hmm.
10. Okay. So your conversion, that's actually not like I'm gonna say that's not bad to start. Like you just need some
Yeah,
kind
for
of
three, four
conversion early
months.
on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know how many website visits you've gotten in that time that resulted in those 70 to 80 signups?
I think, um, so like we kind of don't have the total visits since December, but roughly that would be like 1,000 to 2,000 visits, if I
Okay.
can ballpark this. Yeah, within a span of 4 months, like since December, sorry, 5 months now, I guess like April is also counted. So December 4th till now. Yeah.
Okay. Um, how are people finding your website?
So there are multiple channels, so I feel the highest point of finding us was Reddit, because the way I started talking about Bloort, like immediately after launch, I didn't like do a big launch where I was like doing ad campaigns or anything. In fact, I have not had any ad campaign till now. What I did was just do like a very basic LinkedIn, sort of like a product video, because I just knew that, like launch is sort of like overrated. But on Reddit, I was targeting, uh people who were posting about like, hey, I just opened a new agency and I'm struggling to find clients. So I was trying to pitch in their comments as like, hey, it would be really cool if you could also like offer AI services, because that boosts your portfolio, makes clients trust you more, charge you extra, blah blah blah. So that's how I started getting like some comments, some visitors on the website. So Reddit became my main channel. Then came Facebook and LinkedIn. So because Facebook groups have like people asking for like gig based like development, right? So they're like, okay, client needs a chatbot, blah 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 blah. So I started
Mm,
posting there. And then on LinkedIn, it was always kept more of like founder led marketing. So like my opinions on chatbots rather than like always talking about just features, etc. So that started like getting me close more to like building one-on-one connections with like website agencies and like people who I thought would actually like our ICP. So website visitors are coming mainly from like this sort of like mixture of like being anonymous on Reddit versus like being like a founder led on LinkedIn, and then like in the middle on Facebook.
okay. Um, how's SEO for you?
Sorry.
Do you have any metrics for SEO, like search engine optimization? Are people getting to your website through Google search at all, or not yet?
Google, actually, yeah. Google search is uh like I'll say 40. Like the thing is like it's not like less Google search, it's more like we have this metric called like direct search. Like so people like typing in Bloort AI on the website, right? On like their URL bar. So it's kind of like unclear if that's coming from like Google search directly, or if it's people who read my post on LinkedIn or Reddit and then like, okay, let me try this Bloort AI and then just like type it, right? That's what I'm assuming, because Google search, I don't think like we even pop up. Like we haven't really invested in like page rankings, etc. as of now, because we didn't see the need to right now.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like I don't think Google search is our main source.
Um, okay. Do you know, like, if I were to search, I don't know, AI chatbot website, or add AI chatbot to website, do you know where you would come up?
I don't know. Probably not, definitely not the first two, three pages, because like talk.to and like a bunch of these other tools have already, like they've existed in the ecosystem for a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like they've spent like literally like 5 times more time than me building like that domain authority, like having those like so page ranking. So I'm not sure like which page I'll show up on, to be honest.
How's your website spelled again?
It's Bloort, like Bloor Street, and then T.ai.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is a very, yeah, very competitive space.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
And then that's why like our again like this week we're kind of like going revamping the website. In fact, like someone's editing right now as we speak. It's kind of like rough around the edges, but this will give you probably like hundreds of pages on Google just to have like AI chatbot. In fact, if I ever even comment about my chatbot tool on a single Reddit thread, there would be like 4 or 5 similar tools comment on the same thread. That's how like competitive that space is.
yeah.
And that's why like that was one of the main reasons we sort of like moved to this like custom automations model, because that started like getting ROIs, because a lot of people were doing knowledge base and then chatbots. That's what we sort of like started off with as well. And then, like just to distinguish ourselves a little bit further, we're targeting more D2C e-commerce based websites with like clear problems, like, like shopping cart abandonment, lead qualifications calls, voice calls, etc. That's been helping us standing out from that competition.
Okay. Um, yeah. Based on everything you told me, I do think it sounds like doubling or tripling down on the agencies or the freelancers is the way to go. So, can we maybe talk a bit about your process there right now? Like, how are you sourcing these types of people? How do you reach out to them? Do you have numbers from like reach out to call booked and then call booked to close, all of that stuff?
Sure. First, I just want to clarify, like this is all like within a span of 4 months. So,
Yeah. No,
like
I know. Don't
first,
worry. Every
yeah, like
every
we were
founder starts differently.
freelancers is our ICP around like, January. We were still targeting freelancers. And then like by March is like when we even like realized that, okay, like we should like go for agencies. But just to, but I'm still going to answer your question. So the process we started like really, really targeting push-based outreach, where we're like actually reaching out to people on LinkedIn rather than just hoping that people come to us from those Reddit comments or LinkedIn posts, was like 1.5 months ago. The way we started doing it was um like buying like leads list on on Fiverr, like just to like have like some data to go on and like try to see if people are interested from there. So blasting cold emails, zero return rate, don't recommend, like hardly 1% people like replied. Then we started targeting people or agencies who already post on Fiverr or Upwork gigs, because like they are feeling the pain point more, etc. Right? So that was kind of like hard to find, because like again, like not everybody's asking for a chatbot every day, etc., etc. So like now we've come in this like sort of like this subset of like leads where I'm like finding the leads myself on Apollo by filtering them to like if they've already done e-commerce clients. Like there's a bunch of websites which can help you like really detect that particular knowledge, and then get like just like basically I'm enriching the leads to more of like these agencies. In
Mm,
terms of calls booked, etc., we've had, I guess, like 4 to 5 calls based on 350-ish LinkedIn DMs so far. Yeah.
okay. Um, and of those 4 to 5 calls, one or two conversions. I don't know. Do you count the
Yeah.
business that you're onboarding as a conversion?
Uh, Onboarding. Yeah. Like yeah,
So sorry, are you at two conversions or one?
2 conversions
Two
and
conversions.
5 calls in total. 3 didn't
Yeah.
convert. And
Okay.
then the first call was actually in our chatbot era, where we were just FAQ chatbot. So yeah, like just pointing out that the first call actually like helped us like think about the automations and all. Mm.
What was that an agency, your first call, or was that
Yes, that was straight
uh,
up a website agency. They were a white label website agency. And yeah, they were like sort of interested, but then yeah, like in one conversation I could like tell that okay, what I'm building is a nice to have, not a must have. And so
yeah.
we need to like switch up.
Okay. Um So it sounds like then you haven't converted any agencies, and I know this is new. I'm not trying to say this is bad, but it
Yeah,
sounds
yeah,
like you haven't converted any agencies since switching to focusing on them.
of course. Yeah.
Okay.
But then
Um,
like agencies outreach, like it's more like the outreach is still in process. Like we haven't really concluded the fact that our outreach has failed to convert them.
yeah. No, I know it's new. Like
Yeah.
that's totally normal.
Exactly.
Your actual outreach process, because I think you said like 350-ish. Was that the number?
Yeah, yeah. Like
Um,
LinkedIn has a DM limit on 25
yeah.
notes.
No, but I would say like 350 reach outs to only get um 5 calls isn't like it isn't great. So I think
Yeah.
probably, and I know this is new, so probably some may still be coming in, but I do think you could also be maybe looking more into your outreach process. Um,
Mhm. Actually, like I was thinking about that too, and I
yeah.
posted this problem of mine on a subreddit called SaaS Sales, and
Okay.
like I got a lot of advice from people there. So, one of the main things that I got was like SaaS sales is slow. Okay, like not anybody's buying on your first message. You have to reach out. You have to kind of like talk about their pain points and their workflows first, rather than just go and be like, hey, here's my perfectly like outlined 3-line message, and if you read it and convert, that means success. If you don't, then people come back. People like would think of your product later. Then you want them to, etc., etc. So it's not linear. That was the first advice that I got on Reddit. Second advice that I got was like, uh, the ICP, the kind of ICP that I'm targeting are more executors than like people who sit around on LinkedIn actually like reading messages all day. Sure, like if they have the time and they're in the mind space to actually like, high onboard someone for an AI partnership, etc., they'll go for you. But then it isn't always like a judgment on like, okay, like like you can't really like map the low conversion rate always to the messaging, etc. The third thing that I got the advice was like, because I posted what I was trying to pitch in my Reddit post, right? And so people were advising me like, okay, you can pitch it slightly differently, etc. Was that I was trying to be like, okay, hey, I can do so and so for your clients. You can upsell it at so and so price, etc., etc. All that's good, but I kind of like didn't even like start off talking about like their agency process and like their onboarding process and like their projects. So like people kind of want to talk about their baby, not your baby, right? Like so it's like that's the kind of process learnings that I've been trying to like sort of implement in this iterative cycle.
Okay.
Um yeah, just to give you.
Um, no, I think that all makes sense.
Okay.
As something tangible, which I found like can work very well, is try to reach out through multiple different channels. So I know you said just email didn't work. And it also looks like just LinkedIn isn't working too great either.
Okay.
Maybe set up a flow as well where if you don't hear back from them after a certain number of days, you email them and say, hey, I connected with you on LinkedIn like 3 or 4 days ago, didn't hear back, wanted to reach you here just in case it got lost. Something like that, like reaching people through multiple different channels, I think helps build a lot of trust, that you're actually serious about them and you're not just
Mhm.
like, mass spamming a ton of people. Um,
Yeah.
one of the big names of the game right now also is personalization, but it sounded like you already were thinking about that. The more you can personalize things, the better. Although even that's getting a little bit more difficult with AI.
Yeah.
Um, something that works extremely well too is texting people. Um, if you can get their
Yeah.
number, which is hard, but that was the most successful sales campaign I've ever ran. Um, was when we were opening up back after the pandemic, we just knew we were getting people playing sports, so we didn't actually know exactly what we wanted to do. So we thought, okay, maybe let's get courts to list their availability on us and then our players can book it. So we would
Okay.
text courts saying, hey, I want to talk to you about court bookings. Is there someone I can speak with? And they would reply instantly. And then I'd call them right away. And I think I converted like 65% of people that I reached out to from cold to
Just
conversion, like
text.
signed up through that process.
Okay.
Um, so that can be a really good touch point as well. But I don't know. Do you have access to numbers through Apollo? I don't know if.
Like it's like a on an if and it's like if it's available publicly, then it'll have it. If it's not, it's like if Apollo has it.
Mm.
Um, yeah, like I haven't really like edged like towed the line of texting. It seems like a gray area for like privacy, etc., especially if you're targeting like web agencies, etc., right? Like for your case, like it made sense to text because like those kind of bookings, like volleyball games, are kind of like in that space of like informality where you can like just like go like that. But you know what, honestly, like I'll actually keep your advice in mind because like um uh agency owners, etc., do primarily hang out a lot on WhatsApp, and like just shooting them on text on WhatsApp sounds like a great idea. If they mark it as spam, sure, whatever. But yeah, I guess you know what, like I actually try WhatsApp as a channel. Yep.
Obviously, be careful. Like, again, that worked well for us because, like, we were reaching out to courts that were closed during the pandemic saying, like, we're going to get you players, right? So they
Mhm.
were, like, okay with that. Um,
Can I ask you, how
in,
long did it take you to like get to first revenue or first paying customers?
um, e- is this with Javelin Sports with after we launched after the pandemic or,
Both your apps.
um, so, well, both of them, both of them just kind of blew up as soon as we launched.
Okay,
Because
nice.
both of them we were launching with a great timing piece. And again,
Mhm.
this is why I think product is probably more important and timing is than a lot of founders say or think.
Mhm.
Um, so with the health screening app, we started just calling some sports organizations. Again, we had a onboarding flow, so we actually usually had our clients onboarded at the end of the first call. Like that,
Right.
again, it was like, hey, we want to talk to you about your COVID screening. We'd email sports leagues about this. We were the first COVID screener live, so all of them got back to us right away.
Okay. Yeah.
And then we'd have them onboarded. Again, by the end of the first call, we'd book a call with them then and there. We'd onboard
Right.
them on the call. We just say, this is what we do. Like, here's our setup process. Here's what we charge. And then by the end of that call, everything would be done.
Nice.
Um, so, yeah, timing and product were huge there. And then um, they just started telling their friends about it. And while we initially built our health screening app for sports organizations, we started getting reached out to and onboarding dance studios, gymnastics studios, offices, even daycares, right? There were so many different groups that we started just again because we were the only ones available and everyone
Mhm.
needed this.
Yeah.
And then after the pandemic, there was another big timing piece where people wanted to get out, get playing, get active again.
Yeah.
So
Get into your
sports
second.
apps and like
Mhm.
pickup apps really didn't exist, I guess, before the post pandemic era because there was no good way for people to launch a network. So we just used that timing piece again to get people playing sports. And we just found when we were running all these different things in our app, people were just using us for drop in volleyball and nothing else. So
Yeah.
we scrapped everything else and we're like, we're just a drop in volleyball app. And then we focused exclusively on that and did pretty much no marketing for like 3 years, just scaling that up. Grew it to seven figures in revenue purely through word of mouth. Again, with pretty much no revenue or pretty much no marketing, just because like we didn't think our product was good enough to handle very high volumes of users. And then when it got to a point where we started to feel more confident with its ability to scale, we started launching in new cities and running and doing more marketing. So
So that became like a primarily paying channel. Like, so who's the paying customer in that sense? Like people who use the app or the centers?
players. So players pay to our games are pay to play.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually
But I guess again, the point is like a channel is good and you need one and you want to run it, but like your product should also be something that can generate word of mouth sales on its own.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
that's necessary for like real success.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. Like word of mouth is like the most trustworthy sort of marketing. Like if somebody tells you
yeah,
like, hey, use it, you'll use it. Yeah.
yeah. And with that in mind, a team's like main focus should be on existing customers. Early on, you need to focus on getting new customers, 100%. Like you need to
Yeah, for
focus
sure.
on building and tweaking things to get initial people to use your product. But over time, your focus shifts to your current customers and maximizing their experience with your product and turning them into your advocators who tell their friends about you.
Yeah.
If you do really nail the product experience, like I think there's a good chance that like all these agencies will just tell, because I assume the agency space is pretty interconnected. So I assume they'll probably just tell their friends about you. They'll also lose clients, right? Like if your product's a good differentiator, then agencies will start losing clients because clients will say like, oh, this other one has like an AI chat app integrated with it. Like, can you do
Yeah.
that? And they'll be like, no. And then the client will go to the other agency, right? So, um, yeah, I think it's good that you have like a sales process and that you're scaling that up, but don't lose sight of the fact that like your product needs to be good enough that your existing customers are going to be absolutely delighted and tell their friends and everything. And it does sound, I mean, if you're at 10 of 10 right now where everyone who's signed up using to your product is still using it, it sounds like you might be there because that's
Yeah.
pretty impressive metric, but it can be very hard to tell when you're running metrics on free solutions versus paid solutions.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's exactly like like the first 3 months since launch, I think like I was completely like where mentally where what you're saying, like product is everything. And that's why I was like doing more pull-based marketing because I was like, if I can, like my aim was to make it sort of like Canva for chatbots, right? Like it should be as easy as uh it was for people to make graphic design on Canva and shift from Adobe to like, make chatbots instead of like use Zapier and like HubSpot and all that stuff. So, yeah, like our entire, for the first 2 months, in fact, like until even February or March, our entire pitch point was like instant AI chatbots in 5 minutes because our core feature was like you just paste your URL and then we do everything for you. Like the colors are detected, your logo, your name, your website already has like all the information for a business. So it trains it, and then if you want to make slight adjustments, it takes like a 2-minute process in the dashboard to do it. Right. But then, yeah, like again, uh, we, we wanted to make our product better and better and better. And then it reached a point of like, okay, uh, now that we've launched pricing, is our product good enough to like start paying? And that's when we started like hitting this wall of like, okay, people who are paying for chatbots now do like need automations. So then we thought about like, of course, like we can add just like integrations in our, dashboard. But then it sort of like took our, uh, initial motivation of like, this should be a 5-minute process away to like, okay, this is just going to become another tool that people will have to start learning. So that's why, I feel like we're trying to still like really, we're still in that iteration of like, okay, what can we do more for our product that it still keeps the process painfully simple and then also convinces people to like, okay, this is different from other chatbot tools and this is what's different and like this is why we'll pay for it.
Yeah.
So that's what the aim is. Yeah.
If you can, yeah, the simpler you can keep your process, the better. Um,
Yeah. That's why, like, I
I'm
feel this time I'm more sorry to jump in, but
no,
like
go
it's
ahead.
more distribution first, than product first, in the sense that, um, like I'm demoing automations, etc., etc. But like last time, I feel like I built the product for 2 3 months, like made everything perfect, and then started talking about it, which wasn't a bad thing in retrospect. But this time, I feel like I'm trying to go more for like, okay, I want to have like the promise of like paying for, so like have some clear evidentiary intent of monetization around it.
I- If the product is really good,
Hmm.
then sales is very easy.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
if
Yeah.
yeah, I'm again, and it's hard to explain, but everything in your organization, like you just can't sell a bad product. You just can't. So
Hmm.
once you have people using it who are really delighted with it and are telling other people about it, your sales process then generally goes pretty smoothly from there. Um,
Yeah, I
so,
agree.
so yeah, I guess from this, I think it makes sense for you to get more initial agencies. I think that is a really good focus to get right now because you fundamentally do need initial customers. Like you
Yeah.
need to sell it initially. Um, when you do bring them on, um, do your best to really look into the metrics and the numbers and try to figure out what is causing them to come back, what is keeping them around, what do they like spending on, and focus, go all in on that. Um, Generally, a lot of founders, once they find initial success, they start thinking, "Oh, this is great that this worked. I can now launch feature number two." This
Mm,
was a mistake I made a lot early on. You need to use your initial product and success to build your brand. And then once you're an established brand, that's when you can start making your product difficult to use, right? That's
yeah,
when you can start making your product have some different features and bells and whistles that take a bit more time to learn, but will provide a lot more value to your customers once they understand them. People
for
won't
sure.
take time to learn an unbranded product. So that
Mhm.
initial feature you have is all about building your brand. And once your brand is established, that's when you can start adding more.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah. Any other questions or comments? Because I think we are getting close to time.
Yeah, no, honestly, like this has been a great talk. I don't have any questions. I'm just
Cool.
gonna probably head down for dinner.
Nice. No, thanks for jumping on, Ishan. I appreciate it. I'll
Thank you.
all right, see ya.
See ya.